Sorry, a little break there. Telephone, my cell phone kept pinging and ponging, and it was quite distracting. But I've always thought that the way that you think, and then the next thing along the line, the way that you talk and the way that you speak is really important. And a lot of people don't seem to think that. And I've cited before now, and I can't remember the name of the scientist, but there was a scientist who did some research, and there's another, can you handle that for me, darling? And this as well, and just stop them pinging and bonging. Yeah, but there was a Japanese scientist who actually researched the effect.
If you just leave it,
He researched the effect of words on things like water, and water that was polluted could, according to his research, it could actually be purified with the right kind of words, whereas the opposite applied to water that was actually pure, and if enough impure, hateful thoughts were said over it, then that would turn the water bad. Amazing stuff, I thought. Whether I can go back and find that, but it's on YouTube, and I keep meaning to go back and look at that. But anyway, to get back to the idea of quantum success, which is what I thought the book was, a friend, Sean, who was a recent visitor, one of the things that he had been paying attention to was this talk of quantum success, and I've been quoting Sandra Ann Taylor's book as being quantum success. So, lo and behold, one of the gifts that he very kindly brought for me was a book called Quantum Success. But this book had not been written by Sandra Ann Taylor, and even though at the time I couldn't quite remember what the author's name was of Sandra Ann Taylor, I knew that it wasn't Bobby DePorter. So this book that I've now been reading is by Bobby DePorter, and I'll show you the book so that you've actually seen it. Now, as you probably know, I actually try to do some reading every night. The last thing that I do when I go to bed and go to sleep is I try to take in some new information, some new way of thinking, something that somebody has thought up and said, look at this. And in doing that, I try to stay open to new ways of thinking that are emerging, and how to speak and listen positively is part of one of the chapters of this book by Bobby DePorter. Bobby DePorter was a lady who found her mission, and even now still runs training camps where people go away for a few days, and the staff of the mission have set up certain challenges. I'm sure that everybody's seen one of those kids where teenagers go away and they have to learn trust by folding their arms like this and falling backwards, knowing that they will be caught, safely caught. And so we've all seen those, and I don't know, walking on a tightrope and swinging across a chasm on a sling line, stuff like that they normally wouldn't get to do, and that test their strength and test their resolve and their courage, and in doing so they actually grow. Well, anyway, so what this lady is saying is, let me read just a short bit from it, and I'll pick out the bits that are important. How to speak, it says, she says, words matter. I don't know who came up with that phrase, about sticks and stones not being able to hurt you, but they were wrong. Words can hurt, they can also heal. what you say has an impact, and that's very much my belief. So, how to speak and listen positively. He says, how do you make it happen? How do you direct your speech to forge strong bonds and create safe environments? How can you make sure you're speaking with good purpose? Speaking with good purpose, that's the point. Speaking with good purpose begins with taking control of your thoughts. Now, this is a really important thing that's very interesting to me. It may be that others have already pressed next on this talk, but it says we tend to assume our thoughts are beyond control. Now, this is very much of interest to me, that they come to us unbidden. But we can train our thoughts just like we train our willpower. She says, my partner at Berkeley Business School, Marshall Thurber's a well-known motivational guy, used to introduce this key catalyst with a reading from Doug Boyd's Rolling Thunder. Now, Rolling Thunder was someone, let me see if I can find the thing, the Native American orator Rolling Thunder. So he's someone who is among one of the wise seers, Rolling Thunder. So this is a reading from Doug Boyd's Rolling Thunder, which I haven't read this. I would love to read it, but I haven't read it so far. And Doug Boyd, from what he learned with Rolling Thunder, says this: people have to be responsible for their thoughts, so they have to learn to control them. It's not easy, but it can be done. First of all, if we don't want to think certain things, we don't say them. We don't have to eat everything we see, and we don't have to say everything we think. So we begin by watching our words and speaking with good purpose only. Now, this touches very much on what I've talked about before, about how you have to choose your friends very carefully. And boy, some of the biggest enmities that I've had very recently with neighbours have come from deciding that I don't want to be with certain people. And people say, well, can't you just, why don't you just, no, it amounts to you can choose who you are actually friends with, and you should. And the reason for that is exactly what I've just talked about and what I've just read here. What I've read here, there are times when we need clean and pure minds, and it begins, let me see, pure minds with no unwanted thoughts, and we have to train and prepare steadily for those times until we're ready. That links us over into the book that I read by Sandra Ann Taylor, which I've touched on before, and that is talking about pure intent. And what I got from Sandra Ann Taylor and her writing of quantum physics is that it's a vibrating universe, and as we send out vibrations, boy, this has been around for, it just seems to have been around for 100 years. You remember the old days? Well, you probably don't, but when they talked about California and flower power, and back in the day when they talked about good vibes, there's even a popular hit song that was called Good Vibrations by the Beach Boys. And the vibrations that you get from another person are important. Now, this is a problem, is that if you mix with people, let's admit that some people, I know different people who I love, and really, I'm really in sync with them. They're just great people. But there's person A and person B. I get on great with both of them, and they get on great with me. And then I introduce them thinking, wow, these are two of my good friends. They're going to get on great. And they don't, because not everybody is in sync with the way that everybody else thinks. You have to choose your friends, and you have to choose your friends based on the fact that when you start to listen to what another person says, it impinges on your way of thinking, puts stray thoughts into your mind, which you are going to continue to think in the absence of the other person. So it really is important that the people that you associate with have the kind of thoughts and speech that you want to have in your mind as well, because it's inevitable that you will have what a friend of mine used to call paranoid fantasies, where you will have conversations with this person in their absence, and you will think their script for them. And if they think and express toxic thoughts and speech, you are landed with it unless you take control of your thoughts. Which brings us back to this. There are times when we need clean and pure minds with no unwanted thoughts, and we have to train and prepare steadily for those times until we're ready. There is no use condemning yourself. You don't have to pay attention to those unwanted thoughts. If they keep coming in your head, just leave them alone and say, I don't choose to have such thoughts. And they will soon go away. Now, you have to keep a steady determination and stick with that purpose. Now, here's the problem with that I see, is that if you are associated with an abusive person, one who seeks to overwhelm and to bully, then just telling a thought to go away is not so easy as seems to be conveyed or expressed here. It's not so easy. It says, listen carefully to what that little voice is trying to get you to believe about other people and other things. Because if you don't recognize what the voice is saying, its negative influence may be creeping into your speech. Boy, is that ever true. Ask yourself, am I saying something useful right now? Are my words encouraging or damning? I remember being in Taliban once, and I bumped into someone actually who I had decided that I didn't want to have anything to do with. And it just happened, we bumped, and short of being really rude and just walking away, or really firm and just walking away, I stayed. And we made a little bit of small talk. And it was a beautiful sunny day at the weekend, and the Taliban was full of people. It was bustling. There were just people walking around, and because it was a sunny day and perfect temperature, I made the observation. I said, wow, I've seen so many beautiful girls today. You couldn't get in trouble with that, could you really? How could anybody disagree? But this person did. And his answer was, I've seen so many ugly girls today. Now, there's a very clear indication of you have to choose your people, because that kind of thought expressed in that person's speech would keep coming up. He would see ugliness wherever he went. He would see people that he couldn't trust. He would see people that would cheat him, who would threaten him. He would feel endangered. He would feel at risk, feel threatened. And that's because of a way of thinking that that particular person has. Now, brings you to the point of ask yourself about your own thoughts, but not just ask yourself about your own thoughts. They may appear to be yours, but they may not be. And one of the reasons that you must clean up your thoughts is because they may not be yours, and you may have taken on board somebody else's idea of what's good and bad. See, so it says, listen to that little voice in your head that's trying to get you to believe about other people. What is it trying to get you to believe about other people? Now, if it's trying to get you to believe that people are bad, certain people, this person, that person, how do you know that that is your thought? Well, you have to look at where that came from and listen to that voice and allow it to be itself. So, in other words, if this is Harry Jeffries, a fictitious man, if this is good old Harry, and that's his thought, well, you don't have to keep thinking that thought, and you shouldn't, because if it is an impure thought, if it is an... I'm not being super religious here, okay, about impure thoughts. I'm talking about thoughts which are bad news. If they are where the world's coming to an end. I've listened to a few people who will tell you bad news from the moment they open their mouth until the moment you manage to escape. And they will keep on going on about how bad things are. And when you walk away, it will be spinning round in your head. And you will be focused on that to the extent that you don't eradicate it, that you don't pluck it out and get rid of it. And that's what this book is talking about. See, it says, choose not to give a bad thought the power of words. So, but if it's one that needs resolution, you may need to express it. So, what's it saying? It's saying that if you have something there which is about somebody that needs to be said goodbye to, better to express it and find a way that you can express it where you are not going to destroy that other person. Because the fact is, as we've said, I think it's a fact that person A and person B, they both may get on super with you, but may not get on with each other. And each one of those, A and B, may have their own A and B that they think that they could hook up together, and that may not work either. So it's one of those things where you are trying to get some purity in the way that you think. And the way that you think is the way that your life will unfold. And believe me, that the worse that you feel, if you go out having the so-called bad hair day, or you have road rage going out and you're furious and your knuckles are white on the steering wheel, boy, you'll find it. And then you'll come home and you'll say something like, I met this guy, he just made me mad. Well, actually, he didn't make you mad. The mad was already there. Okay? And it probably came from thinking thoughts which may not have even been yours. But those thoughts generate energy. They become stronger even when they are expressed. The more that you say, I hate that, that will affect the way that you live as well. I actually know someone who used to say, I hate that, I hate this, I can't stand that. And he would talk about things in his life which fell into being expressed by those expressions. And he had a lot in his life that was hateful. It wasn't actually hateful, it was just something that he'd failed to grasp and come to terms with. But he thought he hated it. And so hate became a very common word in his life, and things got very hateful. So look at them here now. Speaking positively is not just about what to communicate, but what to avoid communicating. So you say gossip, complaints, and nagging are destructive ways of airing negative thoughts. And boy, if you can go through the day without actually complaining, you've met an enormous challenge. It just seems to be a way of life sometimes. You go out feeling bad and you're going to bitch about everything. And the more that you bitch and the more that you complain, the worse things get. So you have to find a way to meet things with good, positive thoughts, which is why all of it coming together is why Beth and I, decided that we would have a feel-good channel. And so all the negative thoughts, all of the hateful thoughts, all of the badly expressed thoughts, it says here, give them words in the context of healing and preserving the relationship. Listen to the difference here, and I'll close with this, okay? You're sloppy, you live like a pig, and I'm uncomfortable sharing a room with you because we have different ideas on timing, on tidiness. So there's a big deal of difference, and the accusing someone of living like a pig probably falls into the category of one of those people who says, I just say it like it is. And they speak the brutal truth, but the truth is that they seem to enjoy the brutality more than the truth. So this has been a midday meandering. Oh my gosh, it's 3 o'clock and I'm already meandering. Thanks for listening. This is a foreigner in the Philippines. If you know that someone could do with hearing thoughts like this, share. And the other thing that I'm trying to get over to people now is that we are rapidly improving our subs, our list of subs, and it's because people have been sharing our videos and the good things that we've been able to do. And in exactly the same way that I said we're a feel-good channel, it's not just about that. It's not just about feeling good. It's what happens when you feel good. When you feel good, you're more likely to help somebody. When you feel good, you're more likely to encourage somebody. You're more likely to step out of your comfort zone and offer to give somebody directions. It's just all such great things come from feeling great. You would think that that would be a no-brainer, but it's not. And so many people will wallow in the bad words and the I hate this and I hate that, and you have to feel sympathy for those people. So if you think anybody would appreciate learning this, then share. But if you think that people are sitting on the fence of subscribership and are afraid of being inundated with different notifications of everything, well, you know, maybe if you are appreciating what's said and what's done and how it makes you feel, you can support us just by subscribing. You don't have to do anything else. If you wish, you've got a thumbs up that you can put. I hope they're not putting any thumbs down, but you can put a thumbs up. That's encouragement. With us knowing by your response whether we're doing the right thing, even though it's becoming impossible for me to answer every comment. Sorry, it's just impossible. I have currently about, I don't know, 18,000 emails that are sitting there. And we are now fast approaching 33,000 subscribers. Please add your weight to one of those, to yourself. Add the weight of yourself and your opinion and your support by subscribing. I don't think you're going to be disappointed. Click on the bell, which means that when we do put a new video up, one of any 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 9 videos which you can enjoy on a daily basis. You'll get those if you actually subscribe and hit the bell. So please do that. Thanks for your support. It's so important to us. And if you send a personal message through to me on Messenger, be a little bit patient, and if necessary you can remind me. And for those that have reminded me in the past, you'll know that I do buck up, and I try to get back to that one and answer it. So thanks a lot. This is a foreigner in the Philippines.